turnout of users and community members that call the New York area home. From you guys, I know there's some community members who made the trip from much farther away, so I appreciate you guys making the trip. And then last, but certainly not least, I know there's a lot of you guys watching online around the world. And a special shout out to our users in India, because I know you guys are staying up late with us, so really appreciate it. Also, for myself, selfishly, as former resident of Crown Heights, just up the way here, it's always good to be back in Brooklyn. All right. So I think for us at OnePlus, when event marketing started, it was probably nothing more than just meeting up with users in a bar and talking about technology and phones and what was important. And that's how things kind of got started. A couple years ago, when it was time to kind of bring the community together for the first time, some of you guys might remember this, this was just across the river in Times Square, right? And I think the turnout ended up being a lot more than people were expecting. And so I think that kind of showed the passion of the OnePlus community. Just last year, just over in Soho, a bunch of you guys joined us to launch the OnePlus 3 and joined us for ice cream, and we're the first people in the world to get that device. Then over in June, just this year, there was about 1,000 of you that showed up just over in Meatpacking when we launched the OnePlus 5. Now, when we get together, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's big. This is just last month. A bunch of users met up with us and took a walk around Lower Manhattan and took some photos in FiDi. And so I think for us in our short history, the New York area is really special to us and an important part of our brand. So in our short history, I think for those of you guys that are pretty familiar with this industry, I think we've earned a reputation and credibility for making top quality mobile hardware. Okay, so I think we've earned that reputation. If you buy a OnePlus device, that's something that you're going to expect. But I think in this industry, there's like a cliche. Who's heard this, right? It's getting old, right? So, but I think you hear it over and over again, but I think over the last year and a half, 2 years, we all know it's true, right? It's not easy. And I think even the biggest technology companies, they struggle with, making hardware. And it's not easy for a couple reasons. You got to manage a supply chain of thousands of suppliers. You're going to run up against tight deadlines, and you got to make sure there's quality control for all of it, and you got to put it together in a device that's good, right? But the thing is, even with hardware, there's a couple things that work. I mean, you know the quality of components before you put them into a device. So if we have a processor, we know how fast it's going to be before we put it into a phone. But with software, it's a bit different, right? Because you got to make the feature first, then you got to test it with somebody to know it doesn't suck, right? It's worth putting in, putting on something, and that's not easy, especially if you're OnePlus. We have millions of users across the globe that have different preferences. So I think for us, the compromise that sometimes happens on software isn't necessarily something we're familiar with. So for us, when it comes to software, that's why we make sure we test it. We test it with users first and early. And the reason we do that is because you guys, our users, I believe personally, and I think we believe, are the most knowledgeable and most critical in technology, right? So when we do something wrong, it happens sometimes, you guys tell us, right? And you guys are knowledgeable. And so I think for us, that's the approach we take with software. Because I think sometimes it's about what you leave out is as important as what you put into it, okay? So that's our approach. So I'm glad to have all you guys here today. And I think for some of you guys who are a little bit newer to OnePlus, you'll get a feel for what's different. And I think what we believe is different is the role that users play in the development of our products. So enough talking from me. I want to bring out Brian, who's our head of design on UX, to talk to you a little bit more of what the role you guys play in developing our products. So thanks for coming.
Thanks, Kyle. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to see many of you here today. I'm Brian, and I'm here to talk about the story behind OxygenOS today. So OxygenOS has started its journey with the OnePlus 2, and back then we had built a reputation for combining the best hardware with the best software. And when we made the OnePlus 1, we didn't have a big software team. So we have to give thanks to Android open source project. Although we know Google has a commercial reason for supporting the Android, and it doesn't change the fact that we wouldn't be here without it. So instead, we ran CyanogenMod, and it's a really popular Android build made by the open source community. So without open source and CyanogenMod, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are here today. So we are happy to Steve Kondik. Can you light up? Yeah, we are happy Steve Kondik is here today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, we do appreciate it. So thank you for supporting us and for being a part of our story. Thank you very much. And OxygenOS marked the first time we had to build our own ROM from the scratch. We had nothing at that moment. So user feedback became the guiding light for the development of the OxygenOS. And even the name was created by our fans on the forum. So we owed a lot to the person who named the OxygenOS. So yeah, Medifier, if you are watching this now, I want to say thank you very much. Yeah. So over the next couple of months, we work really hard with our community to define the core philosophy behind OxygenOS. And many users say that they like OxygenOS because it stays close to pure Android. So I had to ask myself that why people so love the pure Android? What make people love this pure Android experience so much? And I think because it's a feeling you get when you turn on your new phone for the first time and everything just clicks. So it's a kind of sort of the experience all users want out of their devices, I believe. And before the launch of the OnePlus One, Android manufacturers were cutting the race to add as many fancy features to their device as they could. So even some smartphone today features duplicate apps. I think who here owns a phone with more than one pre-installed browser messaging or some application market app? I think some of you might have, right? And like animations, sorry? Like animations, unnecessary apps are the opposite. It's totally opposite of what we want to do with OxygenOS. So we will always stay true to the fundamental Android. So you might be asking yourself, if OxygenOS is just a pure Android, then what are they paying you for? So software development team spends its time looking for the way to make the Android even better. So that doesn't mean adding more and more to Android. So it's about keeping the things that works and improving the things that don't. So with the OxygenOS, we don't want to emulate the stock. So of course, each of you might have the different definition about what pure Android is. But one thing is that today, even Google's own device runs modified version of the Android. So we just wanted to add improvement and a meaningful addition to the Android. Again, we are not trying to stay true. We are trying to stay true to the core principles of the Android. We are not trying to be identical to Android. That is what we are doing here. So it's an Android refined. And then inside the company, we call it Android Plus, just like the name of our company. It has the meaning. So you are the one in OnePlus, and we aim to add value to your life. And that's what the Plus stands for. So our operating system has the same mission, which is following the same mission. And Android is one. It is the foundation of our software, and the Plus is what we do to make it even better. So we identified the 4 fundamentals of which defines the pure Android. This is our understanding why people like the pure Android. Because of the user interaction, it's very intuitive. And the second will be there's no bloatware. And the third one is the fast performance. It's very speedy. And the first is the power efficiency. First, every interaction has to be intuitive. For many of us, using an Android phone is kind of a basic muscle memory. And you have certain expectation when you swipe down, swipe up, or long press, or tap an icon on the home screen, right? And we are not here to mess with the way you use your phone. And I believe that Google employs a lot of the talented UX designers to make sure the Android performs intuitively. And it's been adopted by you users for a long time. It just works fine. So we are not going to spend our time to change the things that work. And one of the first things anyone will bring up when we discuss about the pros and cons of the running pure Android is no bloatware. It's just clean. There's nothing bloat. So every app has the clear purpose, limiting the redundancy. So for instance, you only have the one phone or one messaging app. Additions that are made to Oxygen OS only enhance the flexibility, fluidity, and the usability of our devices. And all those blocks directly affect the speed of the ROM, and running stock Android was always known as the fastest way to increase the performance. And Oxygen OS is optimized for speed. And thanks to efficient use of the memory and the lightweight apps, and faster to phone, the smoother your experience. And the last one on the list is the power efficiency. And by cutting off the fat and focusing on the essentials, we solved two major user pain points at once. Not only is the performance enhanced, power efficiency is also increased by 20%. So that way you can rest assured that a full battery will take you through a day of the use and beyond of it. So if our goal was just to build a pure Android because people like it so much, then we just covered those four fundamentals and stop there. We don't need to do anything more then, right? But with the Oxygen OS, we just use those four as our jumping board to create even better user experience. So Android is a good operating system. It is. But I cannot say that that's the perfect operating system because there's no perfect operating system in the world. So we believe that we can change and improve many things. So we set out to refine the experience by focusing on the four key pillars that define Oxygen OS as an operating system. The first one will be the reliability and efficiency and speed. The last one is the user feedback. So many of the features introduced first were later added to measure Android updates. This is an example. If you looked at the home screen on the Android device a few years ago, every app icon had a different size. It was kind of chaotic appearance. It's now getting better, But we identified the flaw early and released our own auto-resize feature. And it wouldn't be until the release of the Nougat before a similar feature was added to Android. So if nothing else, it proves that there's plenty of room to improve. So creating a feature that addresses pain points is all about listening to users. So we've got fans around the world and who all help us to build the ROM for the global audience. And the user input reaches us from all over, whether it be through our closed beta, open beta programs, which provides a valuable feedback on each and every feature we add. And or our community, who are always eager to share the feedback onto our latest updates. So every feature we develop stays true to the pillars of Oxygen OS: reliable, efficient, fast, and user-driven. So this is the one example that the feature developed in response to users' feedback, which is we gave the option to users that which is automatically rearrange the icons on the home screen with just one click. This is kind of a good example of how we implement user feedback at all stages of the development, because a lot of people said that the moving each icons to the different screen is really, really, really bad. So user feedback starts long before we release features publicly. So OnePlus users are involved in the entire development process. So in many ways, you are key members of the Oxygen OS team. So this is especially true for our beta program. When I started leading the beta program last year, my goal was to use it to get the feedback on our product from users directly. So today, our beta testers are our core part of the product team. So they are providing feedback and suggesting new features at every stage of development. Like you see, they are spread out across the globe, and each providing their own insights on how to deliver a solid software experience from a different context and offering the personal and valuable feedback. We are proud to have some of the members of our beta program with us today. Please light up and please they are contributing to making your experience even better and better. So let's give a big hand to our beta testers here today. Thank you, thank you. And also thanks to testers who are not here today. Okay, so we are working with more than 250 closed beta testers. So they are our first line of the defense when it comes to the testing features and software updates is our closed beta teams. So we are in daily contact with them through our so we get their daily thoughts and feedback on our features, and we share with them for testing and validation. So our beta testers receive a new feature to evaluate almost weekly, no, almost daily. Because when it comes up with a new idea, we just find them and talk them. And I feel like a little sorry because we make them, keep them too busy, but I believe they are enjoying it as well. Now, they help us to release the 43 open beta builds starting August 2016. Since then, these builds have been shared over 15,000 open beta testers. It's getting